Okay, so I received this question by email from a member, and he asked, Rick, how are you interpreting the weekly turn signal in lean hogs? Are you thinking this might be a top followed by a decline? All right, well, let's take a look at that. This here is the weekly chart of lean hogs. I'm using the Provision charting software here, which if you are not, I would highly recommend you do so. It is well worth it. This thing has tools that are indispensable when it comes to being serious about market timing, especially with your F dates. Now, looking at this weekly chart here, one of the things I want to point out here immediately is I've applied the overbought oversold indicator, as you can see here. So you have this green area and you have this red area. And when prices enter into this zone for the first time, the probability is extremely high that it will repel prices back into the direction from whence it came. So in this case here, prices moved up into this overbought area, and this is the first time it has done so. None of these other previous bars have done so. And so I would expect that prices would come back out in the downward direction. This would be my expectation. Okay, this is not a guarantee, but high probability. All right, so that is one very important tool to have. Now, here I have plotted, or is plotted, I should say, the F dates for this weekly chart. So you can call it a weekly F date, you can call it a weekly date, a W date. We have several nicknames given for weekly dates. And if you put your mouse over any price bar or the diamonds here, all you have to do to determine what the date is for that is to go down over here, and the date will show up in this box right here. So I'm going to move over to here, and you can see that we were talking about week ending July 10th as the previous weekly turn date, and it did in fact confirm a weekly swing bottom, and that occurred in the -1 bar right here, week ending 7/3. Now, of course, following any weekly swing bottom is a weekly swing top, whether it is a clearly, easily identifiable one or kind of a pseudo one. And when I say pseudo, it's like when you see one of those pause tops where prices could keep going up and then is followed by an inside bar. That inside bar ends up causing this thing called a pause top, whereas prices then could then break higher above that, and that ends up being, your little pseudo top, because it really never confirmed fully as a swing top, but it did pause enough to give you that little pattern, but the market is really strong that it then breaks out. But we are not looking at that situation here. Why? Because as of today, the lean hog prices have moved up already higher than last week's high. So now this week is a candidate to become a weekly swing top. This is our potential weekly swing top. So to answer your initial question, yes, I'm expecting a weekly swing top because that's what follows a weekly swing bottom. There are no weekly swing bottoms following another weekly swing bottom. So that is a really easy one to answer because we have higher swing tops moving into this window for a turn. Okay, so yes, I am expecting a weekly swing top. It's in overbought territory, and it's inside of a weekly F date. Now, another interesting indication here is this super powerful tool, and I mean super, with stars around it, hyphens, and all kinds of double quotes, is this seasonal data report. And if you're not using this, you are missing out on a very powerful tool. I never ever analyze a market without it. I just don't. I'm a big believer of the seasonals, and I add that in with the cycles and the geometric mathematics. That's all spilled all over my charts here. All right, let's take a walk back. Let's go back here, and you'll see that the previous peak valley, you can see it's darkened here, is for week ending 7-3. All right. And if you go back here, you can see that that's exactly when we had our previous confirmed weekly swing bottom. So we had a weekly F date for 7-10, and we had the seasonals for 7-3. This screams that your weekly swing bottom would likely occur on week 7-10, or potentially, or higher potentially, 1 week prior rather than 1 week after, just because of this right here. And this is strong, and it was on the money. Now you come forward in time and you see that the next one is for week ending 8-7, which is this week, and it happens to also coincide with the weekly F date, and they're in the overbought zone. So you have these multiple indications here to support the potential for a weekly swing top. The next question then is followed by a decline. Well, you can't have a weekly swing top without a decline. That's, without saying, okay? If you're asking a serious decline, well, that's not something that you can see from this, because everything here in the lean hogs market is already at very suppressed levels. All right. And you have on the seasonals, you have week ending 8/21 marked next. So there is a very good possibility that, yes, we will have a weekly swing top followed by a decline of at least 1 week, just enough to confirm it, but it looks like it's going to bounce or produce some kind of a weekly swing immediately after. And then again, immediately after. Okay, so we have some bouncy bounce about ready to happen here. But another thing too that I'm going to go ahead and advance and share with you is that the dollar sign weekly F date is listed for week ending 9/18. You can see I've already stuck it here with the little star next to it. If it has a little star, it's one of the dollar sign F dates you see on the F date report. 9/18 for a dollar sign weekly F date. So we have some bouncy bounce happening here, here, that we have to be careful for, because you can see back here that kind of stuff happens. Here you have swing, swing, swing. See, in lean hogs, that kind of action can happen. Look at over here. High, bottom, high. There it is again, right? So we could see something just like that because of all these bouncing around. But here we saw 7-3, and then we got this nice spacing here, and then we see 8-7. You come over here, you have 7-3. You have this nice spacing here. We are now at 8-7. Yes, I'm expecting a weekly swing top. Yes, I'm expecting some kind of a decline. Not necessarily a substantial one, because I do think that we are starting to form some kind of bottoming here. All right, that this is highly likely a very important bottom in the lean hogs market. And now you have already confirmed a higher weekly swing bottom in comparison. As far as trading based on this, first off, you're going to want that weekly swing bottom to happen. Okay, you're going to want to have some kind of pullback, and it'll probably be a minor one based on what we've already seen. Then what you would like to do, or should consider doing, is taking a trend line, and I'm looking at a couple of recent tops here, and I'm going to hold my shift key down so it extends into the future and does something just like this. Okay, And so as you can see, the first thing you want to see is some kind of a break, which we got. All right. So when we see some kind of pullback happening, it would be nice to see it come back onto this line and making this line here its support. This would really add a lot of weight to a weekly swing bottom, a higher weekly swing bottom when you compare it to this one here. All right, this is what I would like to see before starting to go bullish in this market using the daily chart, because it has already gone several weeks bullish. It needs at least a bar or two pullback, okay, before you do another launch and start trading those higher swing bottoms on the daily chart. If you haven't done so already, since this weekly swing bottom, you had buy opportunities all the way up here. So you had all this going on here, okay? We see we had this swing top happen on this F date. It was followed by the swing bottom, which was this F date, and now we have this possible swing top that's today for this F date here. Now, one, yes, it has not reached the daily overbought, so you could possibly see Monday going higher. It will still be within one bar of this weekly turn date, so it'd still be allowable, acceptable, and not a bust, okay? But you can see here that the diamond has a or less sign in there, because on your F date report, you'll note that it has this F date minus with a minus, just saying high probability would be either on time or one bar early is what it's suggesting. All right. And if I put my mouse over it, I can see that it says 8:10. All right, which is Monday. And again, come over here to your seasonal data report and take a look at 8:10. And if you'll notice, it has a peak valley indicated. So strong indications for a potential swing top. The previous one is listed as 8.3, and that was right here. So this has really done a great job. It was in agreement with the F date and just one bar from that bottom right there. And if you go back again, 729, right there, 728. So look at that. You had top, you had bottom, and you have potential top. Now, continuing to use this, take a look at this, 812. This is suggesting that you can end up with a really quick 1 to 2 day pullback, and then this thing could possibly take off. And you could possibly have yourself a buy setup here as well. So these are what you're going to want to see as you're preparing to trade in the lean hogs. So that's what I see right now in the lean hogs weekly and daily chart.